It's more important to be happy than to be rich. Happiness, not gold or prestige, is the ultimate currency. You don't want to be rich, you want to be happy. Although the mass media has convinced many Americans that wealth leads to happiness, that's not always the case. Money can certainly help you achieve your goals, provide for your future, and make life more enjoyable. But merely having the stuff doesn't guarantee fulfillment. How to make the most of your money. But before we dive into the details, it's important to explore why you should care. It doesn't do much good to learn about compound interest or high-yield savings accounts if you don't know how money affects your well-being. My name is John, and I help teach people about money, personal finance, and investing. If you're interested in improving your financial future, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this video is helpful. If personal finance were as simple as understanding math, people would never overspend, get into debt, or make foolish financial decisions. But research shows that our choices are based on more than just arithmetic. They're also influenced by a complex web of psychological and emotional factors. You will learn about the relationship between money and happiness. You'll also learn techniques for escaping the mental traps that make it hard to be content with what you have. As you'll see, you don't need $1 million to be happy. How money affects happiness. The big question is, can money buy happiness? There's no simple answer. It seems natural to assume that rich people will be happier than others. But money is only one part of psychological wealth, so the picture is complicated. There's a strong correlation between wealth and happiness. The rich people and nations are happier than their poor counterparts. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Money's impact on happiness isn't as large as you might think. If you have clothes to wear, food to eat, and a roof over your head, increased disposable income has just a small influence on your sense of well-being. To put it another way, if you're living below the poverty line, $22,050 annual income for a family of 4 in 2009, an extra $5,000 a year can make a huge difference in your happiness. On the other hand, if your family earns $70,000 a year, $5,000 may be a welcome bonus, but it won't radically change your life. So yes, money can buy some happiness, but as you'll see, it's just one piece of the puzzle, and there's a real danger that increased income can actually make you miserable if your desire to spend grows with it. But that's not to say you have to live like a monk. The key is finding a balance between having too little and having too much, and that's no easy task. The fulfillment curve. American culture is consumption-driven. The media teaches you to want the clothes and cars you see on TV, and the watches and jewelry you see in magazine ads. Yet studies show that people who are materialistic tend to be less happy than those who aren't. In other words, if you want to be content, you should own and want less stuff. The relationship between spending and happiness is non-linear, meaning every dollar you spend brings you a little less happiness than the one before it. More spending does lead to more fulfillment, up to a point, but spending too much can actually have a negative impact on your quality of life. That personal fulfillment, that is, being content with your life, can be graphed on a curve that looks like this. This fulfillment curve has 4 sections. Survival. In this part of the curve, a little money brings a large gain in happiness. If you have nothing, buying things really does contribute to your well-being. You're much happier when your basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter, are provided for than when they're not. Comforts. After the basics are taken care of, you begin to spend on comforts. A chair to sit in, a pillow to sleep on, a second pair of pants. These purchases too bring increased fulfillment. They make you happy, but not as happy as the items that satisfy your survival needs. This part of the curve is still positive, but not as steep as the first section. Luxuries. Eventually, your spending extends from comforts to outright luxuries. You move from a small apartment to a home in the suburbs, say, and you have an entire wardrobe of clothing. You drink hot chocolate on winter evenings, sit on a new sofa, and have a library of DVDs. These things are more than comforts. They are luxuries, and they make you happy. They push you to the peak of the fulfillment curve. Overconsumption. Beyond the peak, stuff starts to take control of your life. Buying a sofa made you happy, so you buy recliners to match. Your DVD collection grows from 20 titles to 200, and you drink expensive hot chocolate made from Peruvian cocoa beans. Soon your house is so full of stuff that you have to buy a bigger home and rent a storage unit. But none of this makes you any happier. In fact, all of your things become a burden. Rather than adding to your fulfillment, buying new stuff actually detracts from it. The sweet spot on the fulfillment curve is in the luxury section, where money gives you the most happiness. You're provided for your survival needs, you have some creature comforts, and you even have a few luxuries. Life is grand. Your spending and your happiness are perfectly balanced. You have enough. Unfortunately, in real life you don't have handy visual aids to show the relationship between your spending and your happiness. You have to figure out what enough is on your own. But as you'll see in the next section, because we've been conditioned to believe that more money brings more happiness, most people reach the peak of the fulfillment curve and then keep on spending. It's not about the money. If vast riches won't bring you peace of mind, what will? About half of your happiness is biological. Each person seems to have a happiness set point, which accounts for roughly 50% of your sense of well-being. Because this set point is genetic, it's hard to change. Another 10% of happiness is based on circumstances, external factors beyond your control. These include biological traits like age, race, nationality, and gender, as well as things like marital status, occupational status, job security, and income. Your financial situation is part of this 10%, but only a part, which means it accounts for just a fraction of your total happiness. The final 40% of happiness comes from intentional activity, the things you choose to do. Whereas circumstances happen to you, intentional activity means when you act, by doing things like exercising, pursuing meaningful goals, or keeping a gratitude journal. Understand your goals and values. If you don't know why you're earning and spending money, then you can't say when you have enough. So take time to really think about what having enough means to you. Discuss it with your family and explore the idea with your best friend. Is being debt-free enough? Being able to pay cash for a new boat? Having $1 million saved for retirement? Decide what enough means to you and then write it down. If you don't have an end in sight, you're at greater risk of getting stuck in the rat race. That's not to say you should live an aimless life of poverty. Quite the opposite, in fact. But most people confuse the means with the ends. They chase after money and stuff in an attempt to feel fulfilled, but their choices are impulsive and random. Their retail therapy doesn't address the root cause of their unhappiness. They lack goals and an underlying value system to help guide their decisions.